I'm going to just take it in turn and ask you each a little bit about the work you've done on these films. So, Caitriona, I'd love to start with you. So, essentially, you're playing a fictionalized version of Kenneth Branagh's mother. So, does that put extra pressure? You've got his childhood memories, and you're trying to deliver for him as a filmmaker as well as the son. So, how did you even approach that?
Yeah, well, I think going into it, of course, you put all that pressure on yourself, and there's always the initial excitement when you get a job, and then the absolute terror sort of sets in. But it became very apparent. I think the first sort of conversations I had with Ken, he was just more interested in sort of asking me about my family or about my experiences with growing up sort of on the border, and he wanted us to sort of bring our own lives to these roles, and he really wasn't looking for an impersonation of his parents, which was the greatest thing that you could have been told. And I think this story, it was just, I think we've seen so many stories from the north of Ireland that have always looked at it from a very political lens and very paramilitary lens, and these are important films, but they're also sometimes the only viewpoint you get of that. And so this was just such a beautiful role to actually show the women of Northern Ireland. It's something that I'd done when the research was just watching so many interviews with these women and what they went through and how powerless they felt because this just arrived on their doorstep and they never asked for it. And it was just such a beautiful gift, really, to be able to get to give voice to them and to sort of show what it is that they went through.
You mentioned a bit there that, yes, you grew up in rural Ireland in the 80s, and I think, was it your father was a policeman? Or how could you bring in your own knowledge and memories and family history? Did you start to think about your own family history in a different way?
Yeah, well, I grew up right on the border, so we were about 6 miles from the border. So, it's funny when I started doing this research and everything, it really takes you back to a time that, you don't really, it's not something that I was actively looking at, or it's not something that I'd really revisited ever. But all of those memories about crossing border checkpoints, British Army with machine guns, bomb scares in our town, bombs happening in towns that were only like 15, 30 minutes away. When I was Jude's age, there were huge bombs in Enniskillen and Oma. And, these are things that you don't, at the time, it's just such a fabric of your life, and it's in the backdrop always, constantly. I mean, in England or whatever, it was constantly on the news all through the 80s. This was something that was just there. It was omnipresent, and you never really know how you absorb that as a child. And it was, reading this script, I did start looking at it, I don't know, in a different way when you sort of think about yourself at that age, and how that framed your worldview, or how that framed your kind of sense of security and all of those things. So it was, I remember the first few times when I was watching all of these, and this is great, Pop Goes Northern Ireland and all of these things, or the kind of news footage from those actual days. And, I was just bereft, more just the tragedy of what we let happen to our small little country, and, how many lives were destroyed. It just, so that was kind of a lot of it. But then
There's
also
only certain stories you get approached to take part in, and I'm wondering, what's it like when you even hear that there's going to be a new West Side Story? And did you immediately think, I'm Anita, or were you a little more hesitant?
Oh, I was very hesitant. I mean, my initial reaction was, that's going to be cool, and that's going to be a great movie, because he made beautiful films. And then I was like, I'm definitely not getting that job, so good luck to whoever does. I mean, Anita's on screen. I mean, Rita doesn't look like me, the great Rita Moreno. And that felt very limiting. How we portray Latinas in the industry, to me, has felt very limiting for a very long time. So I didn't really see space in the world for me. In fact, I've spoken on this recently. It's like when I first moved to New York, I moved when I was 19, and I was told by several different casting directors that I was ethnically ambiguous.
Oh, God.
But I could not audition for Hispanic roles because I was too Black for that. I was like, oh, yikes. Well, that's fun. Thanks, guys. So only now am I really getting to explore this, not only this part of myself, but like, what does this look like on screen, and how do we represent like Afro-Latinas as part of Latinidad on screen? So that's what was really exciting. But yeah, I was hesitant. Also, I'm not famous. And if
You are now.
it's I'm weird and getting weirder every day, guys. So we're just rolling with it. But I was very aware that unless you had 500,000 followers or were already famous or a pop star, you weren't getting cast in musicals. So I was actually really shocked when Cindy Tolan, our casting director, called and was like, no, please come in. And she had to ask me 4 times, which I now remember. And I feel bad about that. I was on Broadway at the time, so I was just trying to show up and do my actual job.
But what an astounding film and performance, and it gave me such joy seeing it on a huge screen in the cinema. Did you get a chance to talk to Rita Moreno about, obviously you talked to her, but did you talk to her about the sort of legacy of this role and you know, how Latinas are being portrayed differently in this version, thankfully?
You know, we actually did not speak about the character at large. My interactions with Rita, she is larger than life and like the consummate storyteller. My favorite days on set were like story time with Rita Moreno. And she just spoke about her experiences in the industry. And that in of itself was incredibly informative. You know, you definitely get this sense that she's seen a lot. She's been through a lot. I'm still astounded that after she won an Oscar, like the work dried up. There were no scripts. I was like, ooh, yikes. So do you want the thing is actually the question. Do you want that kind of recognition, or do you want to just keep expanding your career and keep working in a different way? And I was really inspired by her stories about expansion in our industry. Because she continued to make films, but she really did move into television and different types of television. So you make a way when there's not a way, and that's why she means so much to so many Latinas. Yeah.
She's amazing. Steven Spielberg, I mean, just the name sound like day to day to work with.
You know, I was pleasantly surprised. I watched the Spielberg documentary. I don't know if anyone else has seen it. I believe it was on Amazon Prime, maybe. But I thought I was walking into work with someone who was going to be like, cool. So when you smoke a cigarette, it's like this, and that's it. I was really ready to be told what to do, and I don't like that very much. And instead, I was really surprised. He's a big kid. He's very curious, and he's constantly asking questions of his actors. And then he also likes Pop-Tarts and cheeseburgers and Coca-Colas with chocolate milk at the bottom. Not chocolate milk, chocolate syrup. It's weird.
Right. You know, I'm an American import to the UK. I'm going to have to explain what Pop-Tarts are, you know, to BAFTA.
Oh,
no, I'm not going to, but they're delicious, everyone. And they're
We have them.
pure junk food. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear
good.
that Spielberg is eating junk food. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest thing about him is his name. You know, he's actually really human and normal, which is refreshing, I think.
That's wonderful to hear. Ingenue, I would like to come to you.
Creative crushes on you all, so there's that.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Ditto.
Ditto, indeed.
So check this out. I did not get to meet Miss Orstein, and I talked to her briefly. We were trying to arrange her possibly coming to set, but she wasn't able to. But what I did have were these recordings that my gem of the reservoir that great writers will always go to tell a great story. These two sisters who were excellent at what they did, competing against each other. I mean, you know, it's easy, it's wonderful. Every writer will want to go to that. But how many times are you going to have a story where the story concentrates on their mother? And so when I found out the truth of Miss Racine, which is that she was their coach, their mother, but she was their coach, for me, it was so important that I be her voice, because I wanted the world, not just Richard Williams in that scene, but I wanted the world to know who she was. And I wanted her to have her say while she was alive. So that's what I brought to it. And then, you know, Will brought Richard Williams, and it was what it was.
It's an amazing scene. Thank you for explaining how it came to be. And now I'm going to turn to Ann Dowd. I can't believe.
But to also face exclusion because of one's culture, which is the story of our country and what Caitriona has gone through. I grew up privileged. I grew up a white kid in a loving home. We were taught that all people are equal, but that's nice, you know? And we all believed it because it is the truth, but it is not the fact of our country. So I'm just kind of knocked out by what I just heard. And I offer my respect and love, and for whatever it's worth, the apologies of what you have all struggled with, because, sorry, it's just, yeah. Anyway, the film Mass, I guess I'm a little more selfish, meaning I was not considering the significance of the film. I don't dare go there, it's too big a thought. I just read it and I knew that I would do it. And I also to finally adopt him after 6 homes in the first 7 years of his life. And his life began to spin when he hit 12, 13, 14, which is when we began. And I was terrified that I felt I was not able to mother him in the way that he needed. And I shared these concerns with these actors who I had never met. And in those 2.5 days, what we all came to realize is that we could trust one another, that we loved one another, that we were safe with one another. The kindness and the goodness and the talent of these human beings gave us the courage to move forward, meaning we all knew what we were doing, meaning what we were signing on for, and nobody had to talk about it. Meaning, you know, we just knew, and being young in my 60s, we've all worked in the theater. We had our sea legs. We know what it means to stay at the table, even though you want to get right up and walk off because it's too uncomfortable or it's too whatever it may be. So we knew we could stay at the table. Fran kept it very private. He was not in the room while shooting, and we don't even remember where camera was.
Wow, it was just the 4 of you in that room. Yeah.
And camera.
Yeah.
And everything in the room was sequential, which is brilliant and so helpful. And anything before or after, we shot first, the first 4 days, and then 8 days in the room. So he just kept a steady, open hand. And it was one of those very blessed experiences where we knew spirit was present, support was present, the kinds of things you can't put your hands on and name. The actors in front of us, all we had to do was stay there. And I hope that doesn't sound ridiculous, but that's kind of how it worked.
But I can imagine even just staying there for 8 days. That's an emotional place to be. And the film, you know, it's really beautiful. And you know.
Well, I mean, from my perspective, mind you, I haven't been in this industry for nearly as long as these wonderful, wonderful women. But I feel like there's still a lot of work to do. That's not to say we haven't taken steps forward, in my opinion. I mean, my casting alone for, yes, a movie musical, but finally getting an Afro-Latina who is a part of the main event, who's not a side piece. Like, that was a terrible use of words, but you know what I mean. That's a win. That's a win. And it's a great role that is, you know, dynamic. It's not one note. You know, Anita runs the gamut. She runs the gamut of emotion, and those are the types of roles that I think all women want to play. Dynamic women, women who, you know, it's not just about being a strong woman. Like, there are, you know, nuances to strength. You know, for a while, I don't know how you feel about this, Anjou, but for a while, as, you know, a Black woman, I was like, I don't know that I enjoyed the word strong right now. And how do you feel about that? That's a good question.
I think it's another kind of limitation, actually. I think it's another kind of limitation. But you go ahead.
No, like, for me, from where, I mean, I'm, you know, I won't, like, I don't apologize for where I am, because, like, I fully own, like, my journey of it. Like, I'm still learning, and, you know, life experiences, they come. But for where I'm at, I do feel like we're taking steps in the right direction. I'm, you know, someone who, speaking of limitations, I don't like them. I don't like labels. I don't like boxes. I don't really enjoy them. I'm interested in how people identify for themselves. Like, how do you feel about yourself? Where are you feeling? But yeah, I don't know if that's not really a great answer to your question, but.
No, that I think is really helpful. Yeah. But Anjou, would you say you're getting more interesting roles at this point in your career? Are you happy with what's crossing your desk?
You know, I can only speak for myself, but I think when I speak for myself, I think that there are a lot of, I don't know, I'd call them voices that I've heard that I'm a witness to. I think that's a good way to say that. I'm a witness to other voices, so I feel confident about that. I think that there are a lot of great roles in television, but I think film leaves a lot to be desired. I think I'm really understating that. I think it's actually shameful how film fails women in their portrayals. We have so many movies that are about heroic male figures, even now, 2022, and women are relegated to being plot devices in those heroic male figure movies, and that unfortunately still remains the same. And I don't see the needle moving very much in that direction. Television is wonderful. Has made wonderful advances in that way. We have great limited series. We have series and limited series where you can see a woman have a full life on, you know, over a course of 8 episodes or even 16 episodes. We see that. I mean, there's more to be done, but we see that. But in film, it's very scarce. It's very scarce. I mean, I just want to say this. I mean, listen, we have the Bechdel test, right? We have, like, literally something that quantifies this. And these films fail it over and over and over again. It's unbelievable to me.
Wow. Yeah, let's get better. Let's pass that Bechdel test with every, and if you need to Google it, it's BCHDEL. Anybody? It's women talking about something other than a man in a film. And you know, I'd love to see your sort of later career renaissance. You know, something like Compliance. You know, Handmaid's Tale, like we were saying.
That's going someplace. I know we're not there. I get it, but come on now, strength. Sorry, that may make no sense at all, but.
No, don't be sorry for that. I love it. It's a rallying cry, I think, for us. I wanted to give a little shout out or a leg up to the next generation. And while I was thinking of this, I worked at a magazine in 2001 that wrote about ingenue as a new talent for Lovely and Amazing. Love that film. And that's taken 20 years to now this amazing role you're in now. So can you each tell me, is there a sort of someone in the next generation or a new talent that makes you excited for the future of this business? And that could be somebody you've worked with or somebody you've just seen on the screen. Caitriona, could I ask you?
Yeah, there's an actress who has now become a writer and a director that I worked with on the TV show that I worked on. She was in our second season, Rosie Day. She's just had a play that she wrote and she stars in that's been on the stage in London, and she's directing stuff, and she's like 26 maybe, and you're kind of looking at her going like,
Oh,
how the hell do you do all of this? She's written a book already. I just like super impressed by a lot of the younger actresses that I see. I mean, I didn't start in this business till I was in my 30s, and I feel like I'm still such a novice. And when I see these young, incredibly, they just get up and they do, and they just create so much, and they're such the creators of their own destiny. And I'm just, always just so impressed by them. So Rosie Day.
Great name. Everybody look her up. Ariana, is there somebody in that?
She's not really next generation. And in fact,
Rising talent.
Well, and that's the thing. Been around a minute. She's just entering a different sphere. Her name is Adrienne Warren. She actually played Tina in the Tina Turner musical in London on the West End, and she was just in Women of the Movement for ABC. She played the mother of Emmett Till. We've been friends for a long time, but I shout her out and I say her name because she's always been really inspiring to me. Like behind the scenes, she's so active in asking really tough questions. She's way smarter than I am, and she's a producer. She's a collaborator in the truest sense. She hasn't like taken to writing just yet, but like the way that she gets in there and influences text, I find really inspiring. She kind of reminds me of you, Arjunu. Like she's strong, but like in a way that can be heard. Like I can hear you so clearly, and Adrienne has that, and I'm really excited to see how she'll influence and inspire the business. So yeah, she was just in Woman King with Viola Davis and Lashana Lynch. So I'm excited to see what they created.
Wow, that's a cast and a half right there. Anne, is there somebody you would like to mention?
Oh dear, I'm one of those old aunt types. I'm sorry to say it, but I am.
Don't wear your makeup if you don't feel like it.
I
Great.
get so scared for those young people, for goodness sakes, with that. Come on now.
But there's a lot going on in the world. It's a wild time to be a young person.
Yeah.
To be honest. Like everything you said has real merit, in my opinion.
And ingenue, is there a newer talent or somebody that's lesser known that you would like to champion for the future?
I'm going to be real selfish here. Very, very selfish.
Good girl.
Very, very selfish right now, and say Demi Singleton, Sanaya Sidney, Michaela Bartholomew, Layla Crawford, and Danielle Lawson. If you don't recognize their names, they're my daughters in King Richard. But also, I would like to say her name is Raven Jackson. She is a writer-director. Raven Jackson. I'm so excited about what this young woman is gonna do. I'm also being selfish here because I want to be in it. Whatever it is, I want to be in it.
You've earned it now. Great people to keep an eye out for. There is a flood of good questions coming in from the audience, as we knew there would be. I want to start with one question.
Out of the top 100 grossing films, there were 18 female directors. Last year, there were 4. If men are the ones who are writing the stories, making the stories, giving green light to the stories, then that's why we're not seeing beautiful, fully formed, wide spectrum of what it is to be a woman. And I think to the young people coming up, write it, make it, and you know, the doors are so open now. We've got streaming on so many different platforms. We have to, you know, we have to sort of bypass those old guards because, you know, as we've seen from how many decades, they're not doing it. So I think the thing is that you have to do it.
I want to piggyback on that, Caitriona, and I just want to say I can't wait to see your directorial debut. And I want to say to you, you got a whole lot of people who are going to hold you accountable.
I know, that's the problem.
But I do want, and I know what it's like to open your big mouth and say, yeah, you know, I'm gonna do blah blah blah. But anyway,
That's funny.
so
Thank you.
yes,
I'll be calling you.
Listen, hey, I'm serious, but I do want to say this, and I'm saying this because I am in this process of I've written something and have put it out in the world. What it's going to take, yes, we should write our own things. We absolutely should write our own things. I think it's a whole bunch of people writing their own things. But what we need are courageous producers, and not just men, courageous women producers, because sometimes it's women producers who are telling women no. It's not enough that we have the position. We have to change it. We can't replace, I say it, we can't replace domination with more domination. We have to make room for each other.
Yeah.
So I just want to present that I want to challenge women producers to when we write these things, to have the courage to produce them and put them out in the world.
Did you see Anita through an Afro-Latina perspective? Is that something you discussed with Spielberg and with Tony Kushner, or is that something you brought to it, or is that wasn't so much in your thought?
No, it was always very much in the forefront of my process. I mean, I went in the room and the last thing I said to Stephen was, if you're going to take me as like a serious candidate for this role, you have to acknowledge that she would be Afro-Latino. It doesn't work any other way. If you're not going to do that, then just don't hire me.
Wow. That is brave.
I know. I don't know. I ate my Wheaties or like just my pops that morning.
Wow.
But I don't know. It's how I saw her, even in the sides. Like Tony Kushner wrote these very expanded sides, and that was very clear to me. That's how I saw this woman. She was unapologetically Black, Afro-Latina, and it's a lived experience that quite frankly lives in the gray, and it didn't have a voice, and I saw a way through. And honestly, if you're going to make West Side Story, the point is to infuse new energy into it and offer a new perspective, and that's the way that I saw her for me. So yeah, that's what I did.
And a specific question, but I'm interested to hear this because I know it's a topic that's come up in the UK industry recently. With Ingenue and Ariana, did you ever haven't worked with black hair before, or feel like they're not an expert? I hope that has changed. There was a call recently in the UK for the industry to develop more people who have experience with working with all hair. Seems like a no-brainer. But Ingenue, is that something you've had to deal with?
How long have I been acting? A long time. I've been acting a long time. It's always an issue, you know.
Oh God.
It's always an issue. But I'm very firm. I'm very firm. I say, if you want my hair done, this is who I need to do it. And I will do my own hair, and I have done my own hair. Because I have experienced walking into a hair and makeup trailer and, you know, just been invisible. And I just refuse. I'm too old. I refuse to go through that another day of my life. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, it's number one, everyone should just understand how to do all the different types of hair.
Yeah, it's just a requirement for the job, I think. Yeah.
I've in this facet of the industry, I've only made a few films. and I've only worked on a few television shows, and I've been lucky to have good experiences, and I'm very grateful for that. But I've also been, born witness to a lot of not positive experiences, and all you can really do is say what you need to say to get to a place where you can go out and do the work. And I don't step on set anymore if I don't feel confident about how I look or how I'm portraying this character. So I think you find your way through it, but again, I don't know. It's hard for me to speak on that one because it's still problematic. It's good to find your people. I'm a person that I'm blessed to have opportunities where I can take my people that I feel comfortable with, who know how to do my hair with me. And then also, if you see something, say something, advocate. I always try to look out for other women of color, all the women on any set. Like, if someone's hair looks a little, just can we make sure they look lovely? Otherwise, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I just want to say this real quick. I'm so sorry. It goes back to this other whole idea of like who you hire too, because the reality is I have text on my phone right now from Black hair and makeup people who are saying, can you call this person and ask them will they hire me? And what happens a lot of times, unfortunately, even in stories that are about Black people, the producers will hire white hair and makeup heads of a department, and they won't hire Black women and Black men to be heads of these departments, and that's a continuing practice in the industry, and it has to stop.
Thank you. Well said. Just not good enough. Caitriona, totally different kind of.
I don't know. I don't know what you do in those situations. It's an impossible choice, because if you leave, this is the problem with refugees fleeing any conflict. If you leave, do you ever get back? Are the people who've left Syria or Yemen or Afghanistan, are they ever getting back? Are they ever going to have any of the possessions they ever had again, the people they loved, any of those things? This is, it's a horrible, horrible situation.
Yeah, but it's something I think we're all thinking about every hour we look at the news right now. So thank you for sharing that. Another question somebody's asking, I think it's a good one. What is the question answer, best advice a director has given you or the worst advice? So I think if it's the best advice, you might want to name the name. If it's the worst advice, we don't have to name and shame. But has there been a moment where somebody, you were just like, oh no, this person doesn't get it? Or something that really lifted? Anne, do you have a moment?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pretend this is comedy hour because I did a soap opera once really early on. This is silly. I mean, I'm just saying it right now.
Let's
Silly.
have fun. Yeah.
And it was terrifying because everything moves so quickly.
You're priceless, but not,
hey, it's great. You learn early. Get your act together. No pun intended.
Wow.
Make your own decisions.
Oh.
Honey, it is a left sprain. And guess what else, dear? You're bleeding from head to toe. So let's get it.
I hate whoever's going to have to follow Anne, but does anybody else have a piece of good advice or bad advice you got?
I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing, so I can't think.
Can't even think. I got nothing. And that was good.
I know.
That was
We've got a question for Ingenue, which is somebody asking, when you met Miss Oracine later, what was it like to finally meet her, and did she appreciate the film?
I was grateful. I was happy.
Oh, wow.
But sometimes the good job means way more than that.
Listen, let me tell you, that was everything to me. Yeah, because she meant it. She meant it. Miss Caitriona, is Kenneth's mother still alive?
No, she's not. No.
Yeah.
He said that he probably couldn't have told that story if they were still alive.
If they were still here.
They're very
Right. I just imagine her, think about that, her life, the intimate relationship she had with her husband is for the world to see. Like how the exposure of that, I can't imagine. So, you know, I was glad she was pleased.
And I to just jump in where I probably don't belong. I always wanted to meet that woman, ingenue, because I was so astonished at what those daughters had done and that they knew who they were. Aside from tennis players, they had a sense of my place in the world. And I used to watch their mother's expression, which was always to me very dignified, very solid, self-possessed. And my mother, who doesn't have a shy bone in her body for some reason, went up to her. She was present at some sort of event and just said, complimented her and her daughters. And she very gently just nodded her head, mother to mother. And I don't know, it meant the world to my mother. And it just said so much. Of course, I don't know her, but it said so much about who she was, just the strength, the humility, whatever it is that makes a human being strong.
Yeah, I mean, Miss Orsine, she is a woman of action, you know, and she had no interest in the limelight. That was for her husband. You know, hers was to take care of her family and to design the tennis play of Serena Williams. That's what she did. Yeah.
We've got another great question here, which is you and Rachel Zegler. You know, obviously, I'm sure there's rehearsals and things like that, but did you do anything beyond that? Were there late night Skypes? Were there dinners? Or how did you two work together, not just officially, but unofficially?
You know, Rachel and I just sort of had like an instant chemistry. Yeah, she was 18 when she made that movie, you know. Like,
Really?
yeah, she's 18. She's young. She's, you know, she's an old soul, but she was 18, and that was a lot to take on. So I was sort of immediately protective, but I didn't want to be a 28-year-old mama bear, so I gave her space. But we didn't have to do a lot of talking. We just had like an energy, a chemistry. There was a warmth there. She's very funny. She's bubbly, awkward, sort of like, I don't know, me. So it wasn't a stretch. We just had a good time. We didn't do a lot of talking about material, which it's not that I was adamant about it, but I just felt with these characters had two very different points of view, and I was hopeful that we could just explore it. And again, I wanted her to come and just feel confident about what she was doing and chatting and pulling apart. I was like, I don't know if that's going to serve her or I. So we didn't do a lot of chatting about it. We just did it.
You just did it. It works. Caitriona, you know, you took one for the team.
But we've had quite a similar sort of career life. You know, we both sort of did a bit in, you know, fashion world, and then we came to acting, and I don't know, like from the moment, sort of like what Ariana was saying, from the moment we met, we just had a real shorthand with each other, and a real, you know, Jamie's like the most down to earth, most lovely person you're ever going to meet. And you know, he doesn't come in with any ego, he doesn't come in with any posturing, he's very open. And one of the, you know, Ken did this great thing where he got us all in a room, first of all, Kieran, Judy, Jamie and myself, and we shared for about 3 hours, just asking about our lives, our childhoods, our parents, our grandparents. And I think when you know people, or when you find out, you know, those intimate things about people from the very get-go, it really puts you on a very intimate level with each other very quickly. And then the next thing we did was we had a dance rehearsal, and not like Ariana, I don't dance. So neither really does Jamie. So you know, that was also a really good bonding experience or exercise, because the two of us hobbling around a car park in like 30-degree weather in the height of summer was a sight to behold. So yeah, you know, sometimes you just get really lucky, and I was so lucky to just been brought into a beautiful cast like that, and someone like Jamie is just so talented and open, and it was just luck, I think.
Not just luck, but it's wonderful. There's a question I think might be a lovely way to end. Somebody is asking that brings you joy, just as a viewer. For some people, it might be West Side Story. Actually, there was somebody even in the audience today who's seen it 5 times in the cinema already.
Really? That's all?
That's his film of joy. I know I'm putting you all on the spot, but is there a film that, I mean, I can't flip past Dirty Dancing personally when it's on TV, but Ingenue, do you have a better film than that?
God, I was hoping you would ask me first. Jesus. Can you come back to me, please?
I'll come back. It's so
I got
hard.
one.
I could really put you on this. Anne's got one.
Because I'm so undereducated regarding film. Last of the Mohicans moved me deeply. And every time I see it, yeah.
It gets you. Yeah. I love a film like that. Yeah, we need that emotion, that pure emotion. Caitriona, do you have one?
Oh God, I was hoping you didn't ask me either. I mean, I think like I have, you know, especially when you're sick, right? There's these movies that you sort of go back to, and usually it's something like Funny Face or Breakfast at Tiffany's, something like that. I don't know. These olds, they just sort of, yeah, I don't know. The world is very beautiful in Technicolor, and I don't know.
Those are good ones. I like those. Ariana?
Bless. I love the bandwagon. I was talking about the bandwagon last night, Caitriona. Just like good old fashioned, you know, Fred Astaire, Sid Charisse moment. It's interesting. I don't know. I gravitate towards old movie musicals. It's not that I can necessarily see myself in them, but in my imagination, I'm doing exactly what they're doing, and it's fun and fabulous.
But you're the one here who could actually do what they're doing. So
Yeah.
But that's lovely.
Maybe we'll take a while.
Yeah. Ingenue, can I come back?
Dog it. You know, I go to different movies for different reasons. You know, I'm a student, so of film, so like I'm always looking at Fellini. You know what I mean? Just like, cause just how to do it, and Rossellini. You know, just how to do it. I love them Italian filmmakers. And then the stuff that gets my heart is just seeing anything that Ruby Dee is in, anything that she has ever done. And, you know, back in the day, every Thanksgiving, me and my sister and my mother would watch The Color Purple. So, you know, it depends on what day you ask me. So on Sunday, that's my answer. Yeah.
That's great. That's given everybody here a Sunday evening viewing tip or 10. Thank you so much. It has been such a delight talking to you all. Congratulations on these films, on the work. Congratulations on the nominations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for spending part of your Sunday with us. And thanks to the team at BAFTA for organizing us, getting us all together. Thanks to the audience for so many great questions. So engaged. I feel you. Sorry we didn't get to all of them. Of course, you can check out BAFTA.org and the BAFTA social media channels for more information on the 2022 BAFTA film sessions, which continue. And of course, I'm wishing you all good luck on Sunday. And everybody else can tune in to the 2022 EE British Academy Film Awards on Sunday. That's March 13th, 7 p.m. on BBC One, hosted by Rebel Wilson, who I love. That is going to be such a treat, celebrating movies with somebody like Rebel Wilson as well. Just a huge thanks from me to everybody who joined us, and especially to these amazing creative forces. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
You guys take care.
Thank you.
Yes, please take care.
Hope to see you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love to all of you.